It's been nearly 30 years since Tom Cruise appeared in the very first Mission Impossible, and when it comes to the spy thriller or action genre, it is definitely considered one of the greatest franchises of all time. So now we have our final installment, the 8th chapter in the Mission Impossible series, and such a grandiose, amazing run that this series has had and that Tom Cruise has had. There's no way this thing could just end kind of okay, is there? What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the garage. Gerald here with you. Of course, I got another quick movie review for you today. I wanted to do a full-blown podcast episode of the Mission Impossible Final Reckoning review, but I was not able to make that happen with a co-host. And usually if I'm out here talking to myself, I'm just going to do one of these little mini reviews for you to let you know what I thought of this new summer blockbuster that just came out this past weekend, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. Before we get into it, if you are a fan of mine, ya boy, if you love award season, if you love movies in general, and if you want to support me out here in the garage, I have recently activated YouTube channel memberships. All you have to do is click join below. You get all kinds of really cool stuff, including custom emojis or emotes, one of my face, one of Timothy Chalamet, one of Mikey Madison, the mother from Parasite. You also get a custom badge, and you work your way to the Academy Award badge, which you get after 1 year of being a channel member. All kinds of cool stuff. You can find all the details below by just clicking join in the tab underneath this video. Ethan Hunt and the IMF team continue their search for the terrifying AI known as the Entity, with the world's governments and a mysterious ghost from Ethan's past on their trail. Joined by new allies and armed with the means to shut the Entity down for good, Hunt is in a race against time to prevent the world as we know it from changing forever. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning, like I said in my cold open, the 8th installment in this series of one of, I don't know that I would go as far as to say the best, but definitely one of the best action franchises of all time. If you stick around till the end of this video, in fact, I will be giving you my ranking of all 8 Mission Impossible films and how I would judge them based on my personal preference. So this is going to be a spoiler-free review since I didn't get a chance to do a full-blown podcast episode like I said. The problem with Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. By the way, I'll just get it out of the way right now, and I will say that I am recommending the movie if you are a fan of this franchise. But there is definitely an asterisk in that recommendation. That's kind of what I'm going to get into here without spoiling the specific plot. This is obviously a continuation from Dead Reckoning, which we got a couple years ago, and I actually prefer that film to this one. And that's also going to lead into my kind of qualms with this movie overall and why the score was brought down for me at the end of the day. And that is that Dead Reckoning was a movie within itself. It was only focused on the plot of that film. When we get into The Final Reckoning, there is a lot of catch-up. It's a lot of previously on Mission Impossible, and it attempts to kind of catch up the general audience to what they should have seen in Dead Reckoning, which my understanding or my guess would be, if you spent money to go out opening weekend or really at any point to see The Final Reckoning, you are probably a fan of this franchise or at least have a pretty good familiarity with what went down in Dead Reckoning. But nonetheless, they spend a lot of time and devote a lot of screen time to kind of catching you up. I wish I could say that was it. But the first half of The Final Reckoning was an absolute head scratcher. I love Christopher McQuarrie, the director. I obviously love Tom Cruise, who is one of the greatest movie stars, period, but definitely action stars in recent memory. And the combo is just a home run. But for some reason, I don't know why they thought it was necessary to use all this kind of nostalgia bait in the first hour of this movie. It was a boring hour to get the movie started. It really was. There was a kind of a really cool action set piece in there, but aside from that, the first hour is genuinely a bunch of flashbacks and a bunch of, hey, you remember when? And not only does it do that, it does it like in a weird montage-y kind of way where it's like a, you remember seeing those old school like Hallmark movies, how they would have the something from the past or a previous scene and they would do the blurred around the edges like you were kind of envisioning it in your mind and it wasn't a clear image? They did that several times in the first half of this movie. Again, very perplexing to me. Another reason why that's frustrating for me is because once we get past that halfway point, and once we get to what I'll just call the water ocean sequence in the movie, which is also when we're introduced to some of my favorite characters that are brand new to the franchise, including Hannah Waddingham, who you will probably know from Ted Lasso. And I absolutely loved the very small part that we got to see here from Tremel Tillman, who is an actor that's gained popularity in the last couple of years because of the Apple TV series Severance, which he's also amazing on. So the inclusion of those two actors, even though the parts were very small, were very exciting and a breath of fresh air to this franchise. But once we're there in the ocean sub sequence, thrilling, absolutely nail-biting suspense action, all being conducted by Tom Cruise in a just phenomenal sequence, underwater stunts. Obviously, there are some visual effects employed in these particular scenes, but I'm sure there's some practical stuff too, with giant pools of water and whatever else they had to do to make it real. But just some great fight choreographies mixed in there. But more so than that is just like the taut, kind of thriller-esque, edge of your seat 20 minutes maybe that we get with Tom Cruise in this underwater suit that's been explained to us way too much, by the way, but we know what the deal with the suit is and how that's supposedly going to aid him on his journey. We also know that if he rids himself of the suit or certain components therein, that he's basically a dead man. So what do you think Ethan Hunt does? But this movie is made in the second half, absolutely, and the stunt spectacles, I mean, you've seen the trailers, you've seen the interviews and the clips of Tom Cruise hanging from the old school airplanes. Not just the stunt work involved, but the beauty and majestic nature of the film. On location, there's two planes in this kind of, I guess, racing sequence is the best way to describe it. Almost like a Top Gun, honestly, but instead of jets, it's these old fighter planes. And we've seen the yellow one in the trailer. There's also a really beautiful, like, cherry red one, and kind of chasing each other in and out of these mountainous regions. And it's very harrowing. And my buddy was with me, and we're in the IMAX theater watching this, and both of us are going, this son of a bitch could die at any moment. Like, what we're watching on screen, he could literally have been killed. I mean, that's how crazy this guy is, and that's how much respect he's garnered in the industry because of his commitment to the action and the stunt spectacles. It's such a shame that the Oscars have announced their stunt category a couple years from now, long after, or I assume, hold that thought, long after the Mission Impossible series has ended. When it comes to performances in the film, you know, the Mission Impossible franchise is not necessarily like known for its like amazing performances. I will say that I had a small sliver of crossed fingers and prayer hand emojis that this may be another amazing kind of swan song performance from Tom Cruise that could maybe garner him some Academy Award chatter, much like we got with him in Top Gun Maverick. But it really wasn't. It was more so about the stunts, the choreography, the practical effects, which were all phenomenal. And I think you can actually expect Mission Impossible to show up in a couple of those technical categories. But when it comes to performances, not so much. If I have a crush on anybody, and there's a lot actually, I mean, I'm known as Creepy Gerald, so what are you going to do? I just embrace it. But Haley Atwell is on that list. Holy face card. This is possibly the most beautiful woman working in Hollywood today. Also love Pom Klementieff, who returns here. Kind of had that turn from villain to kind of a member of the team now and a bit of a hero. We saw a little bit of that transition in Dead Reckoning, and that continues here. A great story arc for that character. But again, this is not about characters and it's not about performances. It's about the stunts and the spectacle of the whole thing. So at the end of the day, there are few people working in Hollywood, especially in like the action adventure realm, that I admire and respect more than Tom Cruise. The guy is the movie star. Some people may argue the last old school Hollywood movie star. I'd like to hear what you think about that. But he is still doing his thing, and he's obviously done dramatic stuff in the past. He's done comedic stuff in the past, a la Tropic Thunder. The guy is a force. He's an absolute just creature of Hollywood and really carries the torch for the cinematic experience and the theater experience, and I love him for it. I do want people to go out and see Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, especially, like I said, that last 90 minutes is so harrowing, so thrilling. Since it was a tale of two halves, the first half was not great. The second half was awesome. I'm going to actually be a little better than split down the middle. I'm going to give Mission Impossible The Final Reckoning a score of a 6 out of 10. I do recommend it, but just know going in that you're going to have to stick through about an hour to an hour 30 of previously on Mission Impossible, which I guess would work if you weren't super caught up on the franchise, and it may actually not hurt it as badly for you as it did for me. But because of that, it brought my score down a little bit to a 6. All right, now let's give you my quick ranking of the Mission Impossible films. Here we go. Number 8, Mission Impossible 2. What the fuck? Get out of my face. Number 7, Mission Impossible 3. Almost get out of my face, but a couple of really cool sequences kind of make it watchable. But those are the 2 movies I don't need in this franchise. Number 6, we just talked about it. Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning is my number 6. It is definitely the definition of middle of the road in this franchise for me. Not horrible, not great, has a great second half, as we just discussed. My number 5 would be its predecessor, Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. When I saw it, it was Dead Reckoning Part 1, which annoyed me, still annoys me. Number 4, I love Rogue Nation. We got a lot of Rebecca Ferguson. Man, loved her in this franchise. R.I.P. And then the top 3 I'm absolutely in love with. My number 3 is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Woo, doggy. Was it the Burj Khalifa or whatever? We're scaling it, the windstorms. A lot of really, really exciting stuff from 2011. Brad Bird directed this one, so we got a different director here. I feel like this is when the franchise really started doing some crazy shit, or I should say Tom Cruise did. My number 2 is Brian De Palma's Mission Impossible from 1996, the OG. What else can I say? I mean, this really started it all. A young Tom Cruise, kind of at the infancy stages of his like action star making run that he had, which lasted 30 years, which is crazy. Which means my number 1 is Mission Impossible Fallout. What are you gonna do? I mean, you know, Vanessa Kirby showing up in the franchise, Henry Cavill, and the bathroom fight scene is one of the best like fight scenes, fight choreography really in any movie in the last like 20 years. But this is my favorite Mission Impossible film. It's the only one in the franchise that I think I gave a 9 out of 10 to. All the other ones would be an 8 or less, but this one is near perfect for me. But yeah, Fallout from 2018, Christopher McQuarrie's film, is my number 1 Mission Impossible movie. Let me know what you guys thought down below, and as always, I appreciate you tuning in. We got a lot of really cool stuff coming up on the channel, and if you like Mission Impossible and you like Tom Cruise, guess what's coming up in the next like week or so? My Tom Cruise movie tier list. But any Tom Cruise movie I've seen, which I don't even know how many that is right now, will be on that tier list, and you can expect that in the coming days. Make sure you subscribe, and thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'll see you out here next time in the garage.